now live. This is awesome. This is going to be so much fun. Nobody's watching me right now, but people that are going to watch back are going to watch me, and they're going to see this part. Nita, Allie, welcome. Welcome. Still love myself. Welcome. Wave at you. Hi. Glad to have you. Fight for her always. Awesome. Welcome. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Getting some people here. This is going to be fun. I'm so excited for this. Izaak just joined. It's going to be great. So again, guys, I know nothing about Izaak, so this is going to be outstanding. I'm so looking forward to this. Izaak, just make sure I think you can request to join. Otherwise, I think I can find you. How's my day? Busy but good. I went fishing earlier, which was nice. Had a great dinner just now. Just fantastic. So Izaak, just let me know when you're ready. Shoot me a comment, whatever. I am almost to 15,000. Maybe I am at 15,000. I honestly haven't checked. Followers on TikTok, which is just absolutely baffling me. It's been a hell of a day. Like, I literally talked to Gary Vaynerchuk this morning, which is honestly like one of the people I hold in high esteem. So it's been quite a day, that's for sure. All right, Izaak, let's get you in. All right. You hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Awesome. Let me get my volume down a little bit. All right. How are you, man?
I'm doing great.
Hell yeah. Fuck. This is awesome.
Yeah, it is.
This just so you're aware, this is I think maybe my second or third live on Instagram. So this is going to be probably a learning experience for both of us, because obviously I haven't gone live with someone I don't know yet.
Okay.
So this is going to be, if you have anything, feel free to jump in, throw some questions my way. I'll try and throw some questions your way. I'd love to start with just tell me about you. Tell me about what you're doing, what you want to do, where you're going with it. Like, tell everybody that's about to listen, right? Because it's not just these 7 people that are here. It's going to be for 24 hours on my Instagram. So let's talk, man. Tell me about it.
Well, awesome, dude. So 10 years ago, I was a teenager, and it was probably around 2008. So that's a little bit more than 10 years. My brother, so I'm the oldest of 8, and my little brother at the time, yeah, I know, big Z household. My little brother at the time developed a disease called biliary atresia. And what that is that means he was born without a bile duct, and which means all of his liver was doing all the work, and he was going into liver failure. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, the reason why I tell you that is because being the oldest, I put it on my shoulders that I had to be responsible for, everything else. I felt like I was the second parent. My mom was in and out of the hospital for 4 years with him. And just due to complications of the liver, getting the liver transplant in the first place, just tons and tons of miracles that happened out with that. He's alive today. He's 12 years old now.
Awesome.
But anyway, the reason why I tell you that is because I developed depression and anxiety. I didn't even know that I had it.
Right.
I was so in it because I was so young. I didn't know anything about it, and it wasn't as transparent as it is today. It's not as well talked about back then. And so that's why I didn't know what to do. So I turned to my mom and I said, "Look, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm feeling." And she's like, "Well, you have depression and anxiety." And I was like, "Wait, what? I don't understand." Like, I didn't understand at the time. And then I also, in order to hide my pain of my brother almost dying several times and me trying to keep things together in the home, I remember one specific instance. There was a friend that came over, one of my mom's friends, and she said, you need to do better taking care of the house. And I took that on to myself, that I felt like I had to do more, and I was already burned out, trying to cook and trying to clean for the family. And my dad was
Yeah.
off to work trying to do his best to support the family. And not to mention, we lived in the basement of my grandmother's house. And so we weren't very well off, not because my dad didn't make enough money. It was just because we had a big family and lots of
Right.
medical bills. So,
Can I jump in real quick? 'Cause
yeah, go
I'm
for it.
really curious. That conversation that you had with your mom, like, is that exactly how it went? Like, she flat out told you had depression and anxiety?
Not the anxiety part, but definitely the depression. She's like, you have something. I mean, you're sad all the time. Like, you probably need to go get some help. And I'm like, I don't know how to get help. I don't know what that
Yeah.
means. And she's like, well, what do you think? This is what I love about my mother, is she was like, well, what do you think you should do? And I hated that question growing up, but it made me think, right?
Right.
What can I
Right.
do for myself, rather than her just always telling me what to do? Especially when I started to become more of a teenager and more into a man, she would always just challenge me. Okay, well, what do you think you should do? What are things that you need to study? And so I did
Yep.
that. And what was so awesome is that I was sitting in the car, I was bawling my eyes out at the time, and she's like, I know you're not okay. And then I said, okay, you know what? There was this seminar that I went to that maybe I feel like I need to go to. And she's like, okay, well, let's get you signed up. It's $300. I'm like, no, I don't, no way, because it's like, that's so much money for me
Right.
back at that time. And I was only 16, 15 or 16. And, but she found a way, and, I think she borrowed some money from my grandpa, and me and my dad, we went to this event, and totally changed my life. It was all about body language and negative thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that people don't talk about when it comes to depression is that, I think they do talk about it, but I didn't know it, right? Is the negative thought process. And he was teaching us that the negative thoughts that we have in our heads are not necessarily something that we come up with. There
Right.
are negative forces in the world that give it to us.
Right.
And it was just an amazing event, and taught a lot about that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, in that moment, I just felt like I needed to become a motivational speaker. I wanted to help people myself. And so I learned the skill of sales, and the skill of, ever since that, I've been diving myself into the skill of sales, into the skills of self-development, and doing all of these different things, to eventually leading me here to brand new started this idea of Rise Up Guardians. I don't know if you've ever heard of Garrett J. White, but
I haven't.
he was kind of one of my mentors back in the day, and now he's big time. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, this guy's working with Russell Brunson and Gary Vee and all these big wigs. So but at the time, he taught me that I wanted to do this. There we go. Sorry about that. His thing is Wake Up Warrior, and I was like, I love that, and he helps men.
I have heard of that.
Yes. So his thing is Wake Up Warrior, and I met him before he was big time, and I love the idea of naming my company something similar off of that, just because I love his content.
Yep.
What he does is he helps married men, and helps them man up, quote unquote, and I help men
Sure.
with depression, and through different conventional ways. I don't believe that you have to necessarily go to therapy. I don't necessarily believe that you have to go to these expensive therapy sessions or counseling. I believe that you
Mm-hmm.
can fix it naturally. Now, there are some extreme cases. I believe there's two different types of depression, right? There's situational depression, which
Mm-hmm.
is mostly what I handle, and then there's like real chronic depression.
Right.
And I believe I help mostly the people who have situational depression, where things have happened, trauma has happened in their lives, like a little brother almost dying, or thoughts that we put into our heads that we think that are true, those kinds of depression. I mainly want to help men because I feel like they're under helped. So that's kind of a little bit about me and what I do.
That's awesome. We have so much more in common than I'm sure you've watched. I know you've watched some of my content, so you probably have a little bit of a head
No, it's
start on
awesome.
me.
Yeah.
So you can obviously put some of the pieces together that we obviously have a lot in common in terms of our perspective.
Hmm.
Paint me a picture real quick of your family. Like, was your mom, like your mom clearly made you think, right? Like,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about your mom versus your dad. Like, what were those forces like? Was your mom the empathetic one? Was your dad the hardworking one? Like, tell me about that dynamic.
So my dad really taught me a lot of the self, not necessarily the self. He's the one that introduced me to this world of self development, and he's been diving. I mean, we used to listen to Zig Ziglar when I was a kid driving
Yeah.
down the highway, So like I was very deep into this stuff. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was 12. Like this is just the
Jeez.
kind of guy he was, and I love that kind of stuff, and I've been diving deep ever since. And so, um, my dad, he has depression,
Hmm.
which is one of the reasons why I fight, and it's one of the reasons I don't think he has all this knowledge inside of his head that luckily he passed down to me, and I implemented it. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, I believe that my dad doesn't implement it as much as he should because he
Sure.
has all this knowledge in here that he knows how to help himself, but he just doesn't do it. And
Sure.
that's what's so devastating to me is that's
Hmm.
that's really my main message is look, I'm going to teach you all this stuff, but you got to actually do it,
Right.
and it's not easy, a lot of it,
Right.
and a lot of these tools, but that's kind of my dad. I used to have a lot of resentment for him because he quote unquote didn't make enough money, to support our family. But that was just I didn't understand what he was going through,
Hmm.
and I had no idea. I couldn't step into his shoes. And as Gary Vee says, something similar where he says, who the fuck are you? How could you judge
Right.
someone like that?
Right.
Like, so I started judging my dad and, but now we have a great relationship. I even help him with his business too, so it's awesome. And then my mom, she's just a great thinker, and she taught me how to think, and she's just awesome. She does all of these. She bugs the heck out of me when I talk to her. She always turns it back to me. So what do you think? So what do you think? Well, I'm asking you the question, like,
Right.
but it got me. She taught me how to think, and I think that was the main thing. And just awesome parents. And I'm statistically they shouldn't even be together. Seriously, they should be divorced by now with all that the hell that they've gone through. So I
Yeah.
just respect the hell out of them.
That's incredible. I love hearing all that. I mean, it's just so like I kind of had this conversation with Clay. I don't know if you saw any of my content with Clay. I just posted a video today.
Yeah, I saw that. Yep.
It's amazing to see the people that have this like the same perspective as me coming from so many different walks of life, right?
Yeah.
Like I came from a very different situation, right? Very different.
Yeah.
And so did Clay from both of us, right? Like you have two parents, I have one. Clay has two parents, but he's got a disability where, it's just like there's so many different pieces that are, I mean, just so profound in all of our lives that somehow we all came together with this perspective of growing and learning and being able to structure our thoughts in a way that doesn't control us in a
Right.
negative way. And it's incredible, right? Like it's incredible to listen to this story and just see what resonates with me and it's awesome. I love it.
Totally awesome.
So let me think of a question. I got to be creative here. Um, so let's talk one of the questions we got from TikTok, like family. Um, when you were struggling with depression, was there was there a moment that you can remember that actually changed? Like can you remember an instantaneous change, or was it like when your family your mom obviously caught wind of this and was
Yeah.
able to address it. Was it that moment, or was there literally another moment later on where the healing really began, not just the recognition of it?
Yeah. So there was the recognition. That was that conversation that I had with my mom in her van. And then there was the transformation really was I discovered who I wanted to be. Like I thought I was going to be a musician when I was in grade school, you know, and I thought I would do that. And I loved that kind of stuff, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. It wasn't until I went to that course and there was this other event that he pitched there. It was called, the event was called Master of Influence. And at this seminar, it was Present Yourself that he pitched. And it was like $750. And it was normally like 1,200, and he brought it down, did all the sales pitch thing. And I just looked and stared at that board and I bawled my eyes out. And I was just like, this is what I want to do with my life. Like, I want to help people, but I didn't even know how to help myself at that point. And I think that was the biggest problem. But luckily that I had told some people, and I had this breakthrough, right? This breakdown in order to have this breakthrough. And I realized, yes, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to be on stage. I want to help people. I want to be a motivational speaker. But I had none of the skill sets. I had this start, and I think that was right at the point. It was like, okay, well, now I need to heal, right? I need to. One of the coping mechanisms that I had in order to, because I didn't have any coping mechanisms back then, and one of the coping mechanisms that I had then was pornography. Pornography was my number one go-to. It was everything. Porn and masturbation, that was my number one thing. And because it was the only thing that could get me out of my pain. I just wanted to escape the pain of life, right? And that's with all addictions. It's not necessarily the addiction itself that was the problem. It was the not knowing how to handle my emotions, which is why I teach people emotional management. And now I have a system that I've used that now I can teach others. But at that time, I didn't have the skill set. But I think that was my first beginning of the healing process. Was I now know what I want to do with my life. You know, back when I was 16, I know what I want to do with my life. Now I need to heal myself, number one, and develop the skill sets. And that has taken me a long time. It's taken me up to this point, basically 9 years of complete study. And really, as Robert Kiyosaki says, you know, that the only reason why you have a real job is for education. So I dived into all of the real jobs of, say, door-to-door sales. Did that for 3 years. My very first job as an adult was phone sales. It was awful. It was terrible. But I only had one sale in 3 months. But at that time, but now I've developed the skill sets that I now believe that I can start a coaching program, and which is what I'm doing now.
It's awesome. And what does that look like in terms of like for your program? Right now, are you doing that completely online, or is that?
Yes. I would love to do live events and speak on stage and do stuff like that. And there's plenty of resources where I live to be able to do that. Just not there yet. But right now, I think it's mostly online. And I think that's where my people are. You know, I'm looking at ages between 15 and 25, you know, right in that, because I'm only 25. So it's just right in that age group, really what I really want to target. And I think that's why I got on TikTok last week. Literally, it was just last week. That's all you know. So, it was actually Gary Vee who inspired it too, as well. And he was like, "Bro, if you want, you know, you don't," because I thought it was like, "Oh, it's just full of these people. It's just negativity, or it's full of dance videos," and I just didn't want to do that. You know, I just didn't want to go there. I wanted to talk about the real raw stuff, and so I didn't think it was my platform. But then I immediately found you and several others like you, and I was like, oh, okay, I can follow these guys. And then finally on the For You page, I'm starting to see good and decent content that I'm wanting to see, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to make it yours.
Yeah. Yeah, right? And I did, and it was awesome.
It's fucking awesome. So again, I haven't had time to really look through a lot of your content or any of it really. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
Oh, you're good.
Um, what do you feel like right now doing your content? Like tell me what you're like how do you feel through your process? Like what kind of content are you kind of learning to make or moving towards? Like what do you feel about TikTok right now after a week?
After a week, I really like my the videos that seem to do the best and the videos that I like the most are like doing the most. They're just the hardest to do, and it's the object lessons. I really like doing the object lessons, and that's been a lot of fun. But seriously, pumping out something at least once a day. I have same Garrett J. White. He has this saying. It's like in order to narrow down your message, which is really what I'm trying to do right now, is just
Hmm.
because I'm right in the beginning stages of this. I really want to narrow down my message so I can make it refined, make it better, make my story better, and so it's more presentable, so people will want to join. And I think that's what I'm doing. So he has this thing called the 30 and 30 challenge, and that's what I challenged myself. I have 90-day goal, and in this 90-day period, at the end of it, I wanted to start doing paid advertisements for my business. But I have all of these things. It's all this stuff in my head. I need to get it like refined. So that's
Hmm.
what my goal is, to get my message more refined. And TikTok has been a great way to do that. Great way to make that happen for me, because it really narrows down my message. Okay, what do people actually like? Do they like
Yep.
this? Do they not like this? Is this total
Yep.
bullshit? Like, I don't know. So
Yep.
that's what I've really enjoyed. That's really it feels right now like I'm just throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. But eventually, I feel like it's gonna get better. It's just gonna get more
It
refined and
does.
more easy.
It does. I can vouch for that. My first maybe 20 videos got like 40 views
Yeah.
max, right? Like, and then all of a sudden I made one 6 second video that went 30,000 people saw in
Wow, that's
3 or 4
awesome.
days, and then it was just like trying to engineer, right, like my own message in a way that because I think if you want a good TikTok strategy, here it is, right? Like here's what I do, right? There's two kinds of videos that you need to make for you, right? You need to make like a dragnet, right? Like you throw everything out there in a fast video, something that forces people to watch the whole thing. That's
Yeah.
going to capture people's attention, and you've seen some of those videos from me, and
Yeah.
then the other ones are the real you, right?
Yeah.
Like the first one's it's still you. It's just a very watered down, quick. Here's the details,
Yeah.
or
Exactly.
and then the real you. I mean, you've seen me do this. I did this yesterday, and somehow that went viral, or 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know how that went viral so fast. I mean, 70,000 people saw that in a day,
Oh, wow.
and it was just like it completely like blew my mind because that's not how TikTok works unless it is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
um, because the algorithm builds up people that or videos that have or people watch the whole thing, which means that everybody that watched the whole thing and
Wow.
then either rewatched it. Everybody fucking commented on it. Holy shit! There was
Yeah.
1,500 comments in a day, and I'm like trying to
Wow.
respond to all of them, and it's crazy, right? Like, and
Good for you.
I went live with Gary Vee this morning on his TikTok, which I'm really excited for. If TikTok makes it like this, like
Yeah. So we can
Instagram,
do this. Yeah.
right? Like
That was
because
awesome.
I would rather not have to pull people over to Instagram when I
Right.
just
Yeah.
want to do it on TikTok.
Yeah.
But like I asked him the question of like my community's getting to the point where I can't necessarily respond to every single person. What do you do? And he's just like, you do the best you can, right? Like in Gary Vee's
Yeah.
style, right? Very simple, very unrefined, and that's it, right? And to me, like I already knew what the response was, but I asked the question anyways, just because
Right.
why not?
Needed that
Um,
validation. Yeah.
well, and it wasn't even that I needed the validation. It's just I didn't have any other good questions because I
Yeah.
feel like at this point in my life, I feel very in tune with the perspective that Gary has.
Yeah.
I understand the situation in front of me. I understand the reality, and it is what it is, right? Like I know at some point it's going to get beyond my control, and I'm not going to be able to handle
Mhm.
responding to every single person, and that's why and then I can make more content talking about everyone that's talking about that specific. Like I can read through
Yeah.
comments and be like, I know what to make content about because everybody's talking about it,
Yeah.
right? And then for you, like get to 1,000 people, 1,000 followers, because then you can go live and you can learn exactly what your people want to learn about,
Yeah.
just by having conversation with them. It's just TikTok is such an incredible platform right now, and I don't know if that's because there's a lot of people that aren't on it. And I think in general, society, the people that move towards the new platform first are the people that are struggling the most,
Yeah.
because they're looking for the positivity, they're looking for, and every, the platform itself is
Hmm.
always going to lift up positivity because they want people to come to it.
Yeah.
So I think you and me are on this platform in like a very interesting time in its history. And
Yeah. It is.
I'm interested to see what happens in the next year to 2 years, and especially like talking with my people, like my community. Facebook's the negative platform,
It
right?
is
Like, and that
big time.
crown, right? That crown is crumbling, and it's going to be real interesting to see what TikTok does with that.
Yeah, it's almost as if because I used to love Facebook, big time Facebook guy, way back in the day, and then
Well, we
yeah,
started it, right? Like
yeah,
we were there at the beginning.
right, yeah, we were. And so that was what I've had an account since 2007, and
Same.
so yeah, and so it was just like now it's to the point where you can't reach an audience, you can't help people, and
Right.
that's the whole reason, right? This is why we do
Right.
this, is to
Right.
help people and build an audience. It's not necessarily for the likes, because we don't need validation, right? We
Hmm.
already produce that ourselves. It's
Right.
we want to reach as much people as possible, so to bring them in so that we can help them and so that we can bring a light into their day. That's the whole point. And now we're getting to the point on Facebook. You can't build an audience unless you pay for it.
Right.
That's really what it's getting
Absolutely.
to.
Yep.
So
And we don't have the time or the money to put that right now, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
and that's what's so interesting about TikTok. And I think so. Instagram is also in an interesting position as well because there isn't much organic growth, but there is at the same
yeah,
time. Like if you have the attention seems to come faster. If you don't have the attention, you can't find the attention.
yeah,
Like that's what I've kind of felt, is that like in the beginning it was a struggle, right? Because I didn't have TikTok right away. I had, so I built this. I'll give you a lowdown on what I started, right? I started this on March something, like March 3rd, I think, is when I actually started my business. I started my accounts maybe a day or two before or after that moment. Everything except TikTok, right? So I started Facebook, I started Instagram, I
yeah,
started Twitter, and all the other crazy social medias, and I got, it was just like I was in single digits for a couple weeks, right? And
yeah,
I'm doing the 2 cent strategy by Gary, and going and liking people's pages and putting up content, once,
yeah,
twice daily, working towards like building my, my message in its own way. And you can look like it's daily for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and it's still
yeah,
daily, because I love it. I actually really do love it, continuing to do that. But it wasn't until TikTok where I started building a TikTok and started doing daily content on TikTok. And then all of a sudden, like I like was at like 3,000, 4,000 followers. And then I was like, hey, I have an Instagram, right? And I just made
yeah, yeah,
one video that I was like, hey, go look at my Instagram.
yeah,
And I got 150 people in a day to come over to my Instagram. And
That's
then all of a
awesome.
sudden it's 5, 10 people a day, 15 people a day are just building up my Instagram because I have the attention now. So it's a really interesting thing to see, is that like as you gain the attention, you get more and more attention.
Yes.
Whereas, that doesn't happen on Facebook. That really doesn't
No.
happen on Twitter. It's it's very much like if you can siphon the right people from TikTok into Instagram, like you'll grow.
Yeah.
Because they made that button. I think having that one Instagram and YouTube
Yeah.
button
It
allows
makes
you
it
to
very
really.
easy to share. That's what I love too. Yeah, it's
Yep.
been awesome.
So I try and, on my lives, I try and remind people like, hey, go see my Instagram. Obviously, I'm doing this here, and I think even if they do a one-on-one thing with TikTok at some point, which I know they will, I think I'll still do this every once in a while just to try and show people that Instagram's a little bit different than my content on TikTok.
Right. Yeah.
And I try and keep it that way. I do post some videos to Instagram from TikTok, but I try and keep it different.
Yeah.
Like
That's
it's the
great.
same message, just in a different format.
That's awesome. Cool, man. I think I wanted to get to that question. What was it? The unconventional ways, tips of how to do it. I wanted to both of us to answer that one.
Non-medical tips fighting depression.
Yeah.
That one.
So
You want to start, or you want me to?
yeah, I'll go ahead and start. I've got. Oh, come on. So it what I've created, not created, I've learned from all of my mentors all over the world. The main number one thing that has helped me fight my depression and my addictions, and that's not medical, is literally writing my negative thoughts on paper. That's
Really?
literally it. That's it. All of the negative thoughts that I have inside this brain have all been, is now on paper. I have this thing called my black book, and I have it. I've had it since I was 16, sitting right over there. I've
Mm-hmm.
got hundreds and hundreds of entries of all of my negative thoughts. I'm stupid. I'm an idiot. No, I'm no good. Nothing's working out, and all of this stuff. All of my negative thoughts are in there. And then I also that's the kind of there's a masculine and feminine way of doing things, and that's more of the feminine way of doing things. But I've recently discovered the masculine way of doing this, and this is it's kind of funny, but it's a temper tantrum. I literally have a temper tantrum, but I do it in a controlled environment where I don't blow up on my wife or my loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I go in my car and I go up the canyon, and it's the best time to do this. I'll tell you a real quick story. I did this originally throwing this temper tantrum when I was probably around 18, and I did it in a field. Well, this wasn't. It was pretty. There was neighbors around. Okay, so I would literally yell all of my problems and scream and throw a fit, and it was very therapeutic for me because it got it all out, right? And instead of throwing up on my wife or venting at my wife, but I was doing this. So imagine this 18-year-old boy in the middle of a field with neighbors all the way around. I get the cops called on me, and
Yep.
they think I'm some crazy person. I'm like, no, listen, like I've learned this from my mentors. They're like, okay, like, are you on drugs? They gave me a breathalyzer test, and they're like, okay, well, be safe out there. I had just lost my job, and so I had done that. So I recommend doing it in a car.
Yep.
This is where it's soundproof. So you literally just throw a temper tantrum, like you just scream and yell into a car, and it really helps because because we get so caught up in our negative thoughts inside of it, we have to get them out. Because if we just we can put more positivity in it, but then there's still the negative in there. You have to remove the negative and then put the positive in there. And so what I do is I write on a piece of paper. I write on one side my top 10 negative thoughts that I have through the week, and I do this every week. And then on the opposite side, I write the exact opposite. So if I say I'm stupid, on the opposite side of that paper, I say I am smart, but then I double it up to cancel it out. So I
Mm-hmm.
say I am smart and handsome. And this isn't my tool. I learned this from a guy named Kirk Duncan. He's local here in Utah. But I did that, and that changed my life. It changed it. And then I would take that positivity, those top 10 positivities. I am smart. I am good enough. All of these ones. And then I would say them to myself throughout the week. I would put them up on my mirror. I would put them up here. That was the number one thing that helped me. Number one thing.
Interesting.
And if you do that on a consistent basis, holy crap, it's a game changer. All of a sudden, you become more clear. Recently, I had done. I had relapsed a few months ago, and I was like, "Shit, man! Like I've been so good, you know." And so I had to tell my wife, and it was awful, awful. And so basically, what I had done in that moment is, then I was like, "Okay, got to go back to the basics." Got out a piece of paper and did that. And that was the number one thing that helped me.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I would love to have you read a book called "It Takes What It Takes" by Trevor Mawad, because
Okay.
that would challenge that a little
would
bit. It would.
Awesome.
So I would really love to hear your thoughts on that, or make a TikTok video about it, because I think that would be cool.
Totally.
But yeah, I mean, that's because like his whole premise is obviously there's negative and positive. Negative is like somewhere between 5 and 7 times more powerful than a positive comment.
Yes.
So it's like, and keep in mind, read the book. I'm summarizing very much. There's a lot of context that's going to be missing, but his direction and where he built his message is coaching sports. So
okay.
his teams that he would coach, he would cut out the negative, right? Like you weren't allowed to complain, because every second that you complained, you were giving that negative thought to everybody else.
Yes.
And it became infectious, right? So it was like, if you can't be positive, just don't be negative, right? Just be neutral, right?
Yeah.
So he more or less like creates this middle ground of being neutral and quietly almost dismissing the negative by not speaking it.
Yes.
And it's somewhat of a challenge to you, and I think it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on how you would take that book and look at it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But I recently,
remind me the book again.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'll send you the title and everything. But yeah, I think that's a really, it's an interesting mindset to hear what works for you and what he built, right? Like, because again, there's no right answer, right? And there's no wrong answer.
Absolutely.
Right?
I love that.
Like the idea is whatever the fuck works for you works for you.
Yes.
And like that's the beautiful thing, because I had a different mindset in terms of how I dealt with it. Like, I didn't write down negatives. I rewrote my story into a positive.
That
right?
too. That's important too. I did that as
right.
well.
And that was what changed my life. It was, and it wasn't necessarily just writing, it was speaking it. Because there were so many moments in my life where I had to begin telling my story, but it got to the point where I didn't want to tell the whole thing. So, you know, like for some context and for an example, people would ask me, like, why don't you drink? Right? When I first got into college, and I would go out and party with my friends because I wanted to get out and I wanted to be with them, and one of the only things they did is fucking drink.
Right?
So,
So
I would go out and I'd drink waters and I'd drive them home. And people would ask me, like, why don't you drink? And it got to the point where, you know, first and foremost, I would just be like, I had family issues with alcohol, so I don't do it. Right. But then it became like, some people would ask deeper and deeper questions, and I would be like, you know, like, well, my dad was an alcoholic. Right. But I never got to the full story, because I always felt some sort of shame of it. Which, as you know, is poison, right? Like shame, guilt, regret, absolute poison. And then it continued to progress where I would be like, well, my dad was an alcoholic and he committed suicide when I was 6. And I don't want to become that. And it
Yeah.
like through time and over a long period of time, telling this story, it became something that I created value out of, where it was, I would express this, this, this moment in my life that changed my life, but I would tell people in a way that I found value from it, where like I lost my father to this issue specifically, and I won't allow myself to become that person. And it became
Yeah.
almost intuitive because I did it so much, right? And it started much earlier on than that. It was how I expressed a lot of different things, but it was, I built that innately by how I spoke. Because when I didn't speak very often because I was very much an introvert. I still am. I'm just
Yeah.
better at talking at this point.
Right. Yeah.
But like moving forward with my life, it was such a profound skill that I developed that it got me to this point where it built this strategy and this tactic inside my head to take literally anything. And I think the being in the infantry really helped this as well. Literally take anything and create value out of it.
That's
Like,
awesome.
and for a long time, like one of my sayings was literally like, builds character. Everything, like something bad happened, builds character, right?
Yeah.
And I was building a fuck ton of character throughout my life, and that was it for me, right? Like a non-medical tip for fighting my depression, that was it. Is finding value in every situation that I could, and that has, for the last 5 years, I don't have bad days. I am calm, right? Like I literally talked about this with a couple of soldiers that I'm with around here. Like I am super calm. There's no elevation. If I have to elevate, it's simply for the act and the show to get people to hear me in whatever way it is. But the loss of control that I felt at a young age with my thoughts does not happen anymore. I've been through difficult moments and it still doesn't, I still do not lose control. Like everything in my head is absolutely calm, right?
That's
If
awesome.
it doesn't matter if there is a world of chaos out there, I am comfortable. And that is, and like, I used to not be sure if I was over things. Now I am. I am 100% sure that I like, and it's been like this for years now. It's just like this such like really interesting things happen when you get to this state and this level of acceptance of where you are and where you're going. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible for me to feel this way. And that's why I do what I do, is I'm trying to give people the hope that you can get here, because you can. And like you said at the beginning of all this, it takes work. It takes so
Yes.
much effort. And for me, it was 19 years of just absolutely destroying myself to find the right mixture of everything that I did to open me up to the future that I have right here.
Yeah.
And it's going to take time. You know, the thing that I try and tell people the most is it's going to take
True.
time, and it's going to take a lot of effort, as you already said. But most of all, it is going to take some decisions that you are not going to be comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I know you. I figured you would agree with all of that, right? Like, because you've been there, and it's really it's profound and it's powerful, and that's why I do this.
That's awesome, dude. I love it. And I think we just live in a world that's so like, I can get my food as fast as I want. I can get this. I can get followers as fast as I want. We live in a
Mm-hmm.
information's at our fingertips, and I believe that we forget to step back and just
Yep.
be like, it's okay. It's just going to
Right.
take time. It's just the process. It's all good.
Patience.
It's
Yep.
very hard to learn that. And being
Yep.
an extrovert and a type, I don't know if you know all the types, but the type 1
I
or
do.
red personality, I'm very
Yep.
like, I've got to get it done. It's got to be now. And I've had to go against that for a little bit and just be like, no, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Like,
Here's a question for
it's
you.
been hard. But
So like 16 personalities. Do you know yours?
the 16 one, I think that one's, oh, is that the TJ? Yeah, that's right. So
I'm an INFJ.
INFJ. Okay.
If that helps.
Yep,
It's
I
like the
remember that.
four letter acronym.
That's exactly what my wife is, actually.
Yep.
So yeah, I know, very familiar with that.
We are interesting people, aren't we?
You are. You guys are awesome. I attract you guys all the time, and I don't know what it is. My cousin's it. All of her friends are, and my wife is that way too. So it's awesome.
Yep. Me and my wife are both INFJs, and it's very interesting because we're at different like stages of our life. Like I
Yeah.
have been, I started very young learning how to think and how to, overcome a lot of my intuition and understand what the benefits of my intuition are. And she's still kind of learning. So it's always, we're very stubborn in terms of personality. And it's funny because I try and help her, and sometimes she
Yep.
fights back a lot. And I'm sure you get the same from your wife.
Yes.
But it's really interesting when both of us are INFJs because we're both introverted, and sometimes like if we're upset with each other, we just both stay very introverted in our own separate sides of the house,
Wow.
thinking like, is she gonna come see me? and she's like on the other side of the house, like, is he gonna come see me? And we don't, right?
That's funny.
So for a couple hours, we're like, we come back together, like, I thought you were gonna come see me, and then we just kind of have a laugh about it. It's so funny, it's so adorable, and happens all the time.
That's awesome, dude. But yeah.
Oh man.
So yeah, no, that's awesome.
Well, I mean, we've been at this. I don't even know how long we've been at this. Quite a while.
Half an hour already.
Jeez. Yeah.
Man, it's
I mean,
like we've known each other for a long time. Like
Right.
I don't know what it is.
I
love it.
think it's that level of, like we have this deeper empathy for what people have been through, and
Yes.
I think empathy really creates this connection that nothing else can help, right? Like,
Yeah.
I really think empathy is like the way forward, and I always have. I didn't really understand the word until I got into college, and I actually had to like read and understand definitions.
Yeah.
And maybe I should be a little bit like ashamed of not knowing that earlier, but I really understood the word at a young age, and I always felt so much with people, and I've always had this personality of being able to help people, even at my worst. I was helping people survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, like, it's so interesting to see that, because like, how did I do that when at the very moment that these people were asking me why should I live, I was thinking I want to die. And it's like, that is such a profound thought that I saved nothing for myself and gave everything to them, and somehow I still survived all of it. And that, like, but empathy is just so powerful, and it clearly connected us today.
Yeah. For sure.
And obviously we're gonna continue this, just like Clay and I. Like, Clay is deeply empathetic as well, and just an awesome human being. I think you should hook up with Cognizant Clay. He's in my content. Feel free to message him. I'm sure
I will. Yeah.
he'll fucking love it. He's an awesome dude. Been through a lot, and just goddamn hero. He would never say it, but he is.
That's great.
He's gonna inspire a lot of people. So are you, which is awesome to have you on. I'm like the first. Like,
Totally
I got you, right? Like, I
right?
got him. Like, I fucking know him.
No, I feel the way that way about you, brother.
Like, you got to do this, right? Like,
Yeah.
the spreading the word is everything. Like, people follow this, and people see this, and this is what life is all about. Like, it's connection. It really is.
Yes. Everything
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
I'm excited to see what you do in the future, man.
Yeah, me too. Like saying
Heck
what we
yeah.
see to do together. We got to do like a live event or something. It'd be so
Absolutely.
much fun. So much fun.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
Awesome.
So, well, I mean, we can cut it. We can cut it here. Do you have any problems with me? I think I can save this video and kind of cut it up. I'm
No, I
hoping
don't
my.
have any problems. Please do it. Actually,
I kind
I
of
think we've had
figured.
some
Kind of figured.
great content, great conversations. So that's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Hopefully, my phone has enough storage. That'd be a damn shame. I think even if it saves for 24 hours, so I think I can pull it anyway.
Yeah,
Work
it's
out the
higher
storage
quality
issue.
when you can do it with your phone, though. I think so.
Right. So, yeah, man, I appreciate everything. Nobody's really said anything in the comments. We don't really have anything to answer there. So it's been a fucking awesome experience to talk to you, Izaak. And I can't wait to see what you do, where we both go. It's going to be a good time.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I'll talk to you later, man.
All right. See you, brother.
Yep. Bye.
Thanks everyone for watching. I'm going to end it here. I might go back on TikTok live later. I don't know. Depends on if I'm going to sleep or not. Again, I appreciate everyone for stopping in, listening to this. If you're listening to it tomorrow, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment at some point or a DM and shoot me a message. Definitely go check out Izaak. He's on TikTok and he's also on Instagram here. Awesome dude. Definitely going to do a lot of good things. So thanks everyone. Have a great night. See you soon.